Yo, 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 what is up? What's going on,
Did,
Hugh?
did you know that there are three types of ADHD?
Hugh, I have ADHD. You're such a dick. Keep going.
I didn't know that. I recently learned this.
Yes, there
So,
is. I
so
want to hear your take on
if
this
you're
really
watching
fast.
or listening, you know that I have been going to a psychiatrist and a therapist, unless they're not the same, in which case I've been going to the one to talk to and I've been going to the one that gives you drugs. Um, and the one who gives me drugs, we were talking about.
The
I
one that gives me, you're such a fucking idiot. The
Well,
one that
it's not
gives
the
me drugs.
same. Like you talk to the one of them about like your problems and what have yous, and then they like help you work through it. And then there's the other one who's like, hey, I talked to your other doctor. Here's what you're taking now, or something to that effect. So, anyways, apparently there are three types of ADHD, and I have them. You can have like the one, the other, or combined. I didn't know you could have combined ADHD,
Yeah,
which
it's
is
bad.
the very minimal amount that I understand about it is that there is an upside and a downside, and then you can have both. In which case, whatever you used to like to do, you might as well kiss it goodbye because you're gonna live on a couch from now on. And I'm not saying that's true for everybody, but as it turns out, that's moderately true for myself, which is probably
Okay.
why I thoroughly enjoy playing Zelda and have done shit all on my channel.
Zelda? God,
Yeah,
dude.
Tears of the Kingdom, bro. Get on it.
Oh my
It
God,
was
you're such a
Switch.
nerd.
I know.
Fucking nerd.
Yeah. But I've been working on my shed for 3 weeks, and I am happy to state I have the ground done.
What did you put in your drink tonight, dude?
Um, because I'm technically getting paid by the shipyard right now, nothing. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, turns out you can have three types of fucking, or a combined of the two. So I guess there's three. Although I guess that's like saying biannual, which is both twice a year and every other year, which is linguistically lazy and mad confusing. So you can have one, or two, I guess, but they call it three. But yeah, so that's my mental health update for the show
Jeez.
right now.
So I'm doing so talk about mental health updates. So I'm officially in it's rough. Every Tuesday morning from 8:30 to 9:30, I'm in therapy.
Is that why you didn't answer the phone I called?
Yes, that is exactly why I answered the phone. But it's all telehealth, and she's awesome. So this is the first time I've been super optimistic about actually like taking control of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty intense.
Yeah, right.
She started off our first session. She goes, "Do you have a box of tissues?" I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "Do you have them near you?" And I went, "No." She goes, "I'll wait." I went, "Oh, okay. I'll be right back." I was like, I like showed her like a little kid. I was like, "I got my box of tissues. Here you go." She goes, "Pull a couple out. You're gonna need them because this shit's gonna get intense." And I was just like, "Okay, go." Like I don't know what to do.
That's funny because
Sure.
you're not a small dude. You know what are you like 6'3", 250?
6'4", 6'4".
6'4", excuse me. I'm sure that
Yeah,
matters in your dating
it
profile.
it does. It
And your
does.
and your therapist just like made you feel like a very small child, didn't she?
Yeah. Oh, I felt like my daughter was my mother. Like that's how young I felt, like and tiny I felt. It was really bad. Like it was just so horrible. And it was just she was just like, "I'll wait." When she said "I'll wait," like there was nothing after. She
Like
just
she
went,
knew, like she like read your profile. She like cracked her neck a little bit. She's like,
"Yeah."
I got this.
She's
Yeah.
like, "I'll
I'm
wait." And I went, "Oh, okay. Hi, my name's Billy, and I like the color blue. Please, I don't want to talk about nothing else right now. I can't handle this shit." She's like,
like
"Fuck."
I can
But
only do
bro,
so much.
I used a quarter of the box of tissues, dude. It was like shit was emotions were coming out. Like it was
Mhm.
just it was good though. I mean, it was something that I needed, you know what I mean?
That's good.
So it was really good.
Well, that's good. Well, we are in a small time constraint tonight.
Yes, we are. We are.
So
We
we're
are.
going
We
to go
are.
ahead and get into it. Tonight, we have Sarah Otto. She's a co-founder of Ohana Homefront Foundation. Their mission statement is to provide access to crisis intervention. To provide crisis intervention and mental health and wellness support services across the military community to ensure that no service member, veteran, spouse, or child is left behind. And So Sarah's going to come in and talk about the organization. There's a lot of really cool stuff that we're going to, well, I say cool. I probably shouldn't say cool stuff when we know that we're here to talk about like the things that we talk about. But she's going to talk about a lot of things that we have been talking about a little bit here and there. And then we're going to talk about what I'm really interested in is they have some statistics on their website that I thought were pretty interesting that we're going to touch base on tonight. So Billy, if you wouldn't mind, please bring our guest in.
Yes. Let's. I could see her messing with the camera right now because I guess she has. She's gonna kill me when it says. But I'm gonna. Okay, here we go. Sarah, you good?
I am here. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go to my daughter's room because she has a really good signal. So you guys are just gonna have to
one of those houses.
with me real quick.
She's got the range extender.
It is one of those houses.
Do you have to like hold up like the piece of aluminum foil against like a like one of the plumbing pipes, like, and then like hold the phone?
I'm honestly
like a 38-degree angle?
we need. I think I'm gonna have to. Like at some point, it's gonna have to get to that point. She's probably gonna be like, "Why are you in my room?" So it's a hot mess in here. So
it's all right. Don't worry about it. I got kids. I understand it.
Turn on her light. No, she's 23. She's not a kid, but like, if you look behind me, like it's all. We look like. She looks like she lives in a Hot Topic. I'm just saying. So, anyway.
Are those Funko Pops?
Okay. A lot of Funko Pops, man.
Yeah. Like I told you, it looks like she lives in Hot Topic.
What? That is the craziest personal collection I've ever seen.
Oh, no. She has more. There's more over there, and there's more over. Yeah. And there's some that are out of boxes. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Life goals. Life goals. That's all I can say.
Yeah,
something like
it must
that.
be nice to not have to worry about taxes that much.
Well, whenever you're 23 and you still live at home, you know, I mean, I guess that's how you live, right?
Yeah,
that's right. So, Sarah, go ahead. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about Ohana and how you guys got started.
Okay, so I'm Sarah Otto, obviously. I'm co-founder and president of Ohana Homefront Foundation. So you were talking about ADHD. I actually just got diagnosed with it yesterday, even though I've told them for 10 years that I have it. So I was like, oh my gosh, my spirit. Anyway, so
welcome to the club. It's so bad.
I know, right? I've had it for years. It's just they never believed me. So here we are. Every box got checked. Awesome.
So awesome.
So my husband is retired Navy. He did 21 and a half years. He retired in 18. He's a contractor now. We have 3 adult children, 21, 22, and 23. Our youngest
you
is
just
getting ready to graduate
that
college
one, didn't you?
In a month. I know, right? Piggyback.
Wow.
And then our middle one, 22, had a baby in 2021. So we have a grandbaby. And she's actually downstairs with my husband and my oldest right now, hanging out and probably destroying my living room. She's 19 months old, so she's everywhere. So anyway, originally from Missouri, live in Virginia. And Ohana started, I woke up one day and I said to myself, actually, you know, because we have ADHD, so that's what we do. We talk to ourselves. You know, I have an idea. I want something that encompasses the entire community, not just one piece of the puzzle, because we see so many active components like nonprofits that are specifically for a veteran community or for a military spouse community or whatever, but there's nothing that takes care of the entire puzzle. It's only one piece. So October 3rd of 2021, I called my best friend, Natalie Ely, who is the 2023 Armed Forces Insurance Marine Corps Spouse of the Year, by the way. And I called her and I said, I have an idea. And she said, okay, I'm in. What is it? Like, she didn't even know. I'm like, well, this is what we're going to do. And she goes, okay. And so October 4th of 21, we sat down at my dining room table and it was like, I don't even know, like a deal that was going on trying to figure out what to call it. Her husband and her had spent many years in Hawaii. Her daughter married a Marine when she was in college in Hawaii. And my husband did his last 3 years active duty GEO batch in Hawaii. So Ohana made sense because it means family. So, you know, it just kind of, we do get asked if we named it after Lilo and Stitch, though. And it's not true. So
that's good.
I'm like, no.
No, there's a different meaning. Yeah, no.
Different. But yeah, so within 24 hours of a Facebook page. We didn't even have a website. We didn't. What I found. Sorry, my watch is apparently thinking I'm talking to it. So we didn't even have a website. We didn't have emails. We didn't have a team. We had nothing. It was just Natalie and I. And we started getting messages. And that's when I said, oh crap, here we go. Like I joke we gave birth and it graduated college all within 24 hours.
Wow.
And
yeah.
like we had no funding. It was just us. So I called my sister, who has a friend that's a counselor, and I said, can you please have her call the spouse and talk her through some things and find out what we need to do and who we need to call. So we were able to get her in treatment, which was good. And it blossomed from there. Now we have 54 within OHF. We have 13 states covered with 6 counselors currently. So yeah, we're just moving and shaking and growing faster than I really thought we would.
That's a good thing though. That's not a bad thing.
It is good.
It's when I hear like businesses or organizations are like, we're so busy, it grew like crazy. That's a great thing. Like that's a great thing. As overwhelming as it can get sometimes.
It is, but here's the kicker. This is where I don't like that we grew so fast, and it's not because I don't want to be needed. I don't want us to be needed. I want things to be in place, and I want people to know that it's okay, and I want commands to listen and give a darn, and all of these things, and it's just not happening.
Yeah.
What do you think is the most common request you get for services?
It's counseling.
Counseling? Just like general counseling or mental health counseling?
Mental health counseling. That's what our counselors and everybody is volunteer, including our counselors. Nobody gets a paycheck. So
that's awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
You receive most of these requests from service members?
Spouses and service members. And usually the first thing a service member asks is, what do you think it is?
Can you talk to my wife or spouse?
No.
Are you going to tell my command?
Are you going to talk to my command?
Are you going to tell my command? Yep. And you know what? That's so true, because that's exactly what I went through. You know what I mean? Like,
and the answer is no.
Well, and we're coming out of that period in which we were afraid for the longest time to say anything or to show that there wasn't a steady incline, right? Like, Sarah, your husband's retired Navy. He's probably bitched and moaned more than once about his evals. Oh, look, I got a new CO or I changed command. Why the fuck am I at 3.1?
Yep.
Because you have to show growth, right? When nobody wanted to show that they dropped, and the same goes for needing assistance, whether that's counseling, medication, physical therapy, or what have you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sarah, you have some numbers on your website that I want to talk about a little bit. You said 25% of military spouses reported anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you guys collect that information from?
So we get a lot of our information from Blue Star Families. They do a survey every year, and they poll a lot. And so I'm sure the number is actually higher. I'm sure that the numbers that we get are much lower than what they actually are, because it's what's reported, right? Like, so Blue Star Families has an amazing military, like it's everything. So it's food insecurity, childcare, mental health, everything. And they send it out, and it goes out for like a month, and then they go and analyze everything. So that's where we get that for military spouse data. As far as veterans and active duty, we get that straight from the DoD.
Do you happen to know what the number was of military personnel who reported anxiety?
I do not. For anxiety, no.
No, that's all right. I'm sure that I have it here somewhere. We just need unbiased. Now, Mike and I had to pull it together a while ago. He just says we just need an unbiased ear. Do you think that a lot of people that call in, they just need somebody to talk to?
Yes, and that's what it boils down to. They're afraid. They don't know where to go, and I think they feel that we're a safe haven, and that was kind of the goal, was to be a safe haven. Nobody is going to get reported. we're kind of on the same wavelength as a chaplain, and we're not DOD.
Mm.
So everything stays in-house. And then if they don't need counseling necessarily, we do have peer-to-peer support, and a life coach and a health coach. So we have options.
When you say peer-to-peer, are you just talking about personnel who they have bachelor's or master's degrees or doctorates or what have you, or do you pair them with a service member who is like an anonymous kind of, like a legitimate, I don't want to say like legitimate, like your personnel are not qualified, but like you have a sergeant first class or a staff sergeant or a chief petty officer who's like an anonymous person to talk to this individual?
So we have 2 veteran peer-to-peer and 2 military spouse peer-to-peer. And they're amazing, number one. Number two, it's the person contacting them stays confidential, but they obviously are not confidential. Their name is out there. People know who they are, and who they can contact. So it's somebody that's been in the shoes before, worn the t-shirt, whatever, been there, done that, that usually join up with us. And so if somebody wants peer-to-peer, then we have it. That's the step usually. If somebody's in counseling, they step down to peer-to-peer before they're done. Like before we're like, all right, we'll contact you in a month, and so everything stays in-house, where there's no having to go and find a new counselor if you move from North Carolina to Missouri. It just shifts in our system to another counselor.
Nice.
And all of those notes stay within our HIPAA compliant website stuff that Candace uses. I wish she was on here. She'd be able to explain a little bit more of that. That's kind of her house. I'm like, unless I need to be brought in, my anxiety, again, I wouldn't be able to take it. Like, no.
Yeah, no, I get that. Now, going back to the fear part, my biggest question is how do we combat that on our side? How do we get, we try to do it here on Liberty Risk. We try to make it, it's okay to not be okay. I've said that so many times, and I've openly talked about my personal situations. I'm a suicide attempt survival. I legitimately tried to take my own life. I'm okay with talking about it now, but I'm not at the same time. I'm still, 10 years later, I'm still dealing with it. I have my bouts. But initially, it was the fear. Like, so how do you talk to the individuals that come forward that are still active about that portion of it?
So I will talk about a phone call that I received. This kid called and asked for me, and specifically, and I'm like, I'm not a counselor, but I'll talk to him all day long. I will talk to anybody. And his first words were, my command is not going to find out, are they? I said, no. Everybody within OHF signs a non-disclosure. We have background checks. Nobody is going to find out anything. And if they do, I want to know who said it, because I'm going to be having some words and some phone calls and some letters sent. I don't do well with people not following through with that. So we are secure. And I try to bring that out whenever I talk to people, that they're not going to have somebody talking behind their back, that the command is not going to find out. Your white spouse is not going to find out unless you want us to talk to them. But be open, to the counselor, whoever you're talking to, that let them know that these are your fears, but this is what's going on. Because I think a lot of it is fear, and
just straight
it's
fear.
fear
Yeah,
based.
No, absolutely.
So they don't know where to start. And this kid that I talked to, he had no clue where to start. He was just very upset and felt like he was at the end of his rope.
Yeah.
And he didn't know what to do. And so talking him through things. And then the next day we already had him in with our Virginia counselor.
Perfect.
Because you can't wait. You just
can't.
No,
absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And so we have a hotline number that rings to 10 of us, and somebody will answer 24/7. And when they call, we do an intake. So if I were to answer the phone, I would do an intake, and then I would send that over to Candace, and they would take care of it from there. But you can text the number, you can call the number. as long as you reach out, right? Like that is the hardest step, but that is the strongest step at the same time that you can make, is to say, I'm not okay. And knowing that there's somebody that's going to be on the other line, that I've heard other places have, if they call, they get asked, the first question is, do we need to call the police? And
why is that the first question?
I honestly don't know, because it adds crisis into crisis, right? What is the point of a crisis line if they're going to throw crisis into it? And I don't think that those within those organizations are fully trained, or they're just so short-staffed, right? We're finding that with the counselors. Counseling, it's really hard to find counselors now. There is such a shortage. It's sad.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Jeez.
And the red tape to get to be a counselor on a military base. I don't even know how to go into it. It's just not right. Our counseling manager, Nicole Pingle, she is in New Jersey. And she works for the Coast Guard now, but she tried to get in with the Navy, and she has been an inpatient counselor for adolescents for 10 years. And they wanted her to go back and get like 3 other certifications done. She has a master's. Like, they want her to go back and spend all this other money for her just to work for the Navy. So why are we putting such a focus on that whenever there are people that want to help and we need them?
Yeah. Gosh.
I can't help but laugh, because I work at Portsmouth Shipyard up here in Maine, and I swear to God, I work with some fucking window lickers that repair nuclear submarines. And like the bar to hire these people is so fucking low. Like, if you don't even really have to have a good driver's license, as long as you can get to work on time, like, we'll hire you.
You have a library card. Do you have a library card? Come on in.
I don't know what the Navy's problem is like helping. Like, if my boat pulled up, right, and I got off the boat and it was January in Kittery, Maine, I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna fucking kill myself. This bitch just came up here from Kings Bay. Oh, but the guy working on the hull over there is licking his wrench.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we can't get counselors.
The level of requirement is asinine. I've applied for jobs as project managers, as facilities maintenance, and they're like, oh, you have to be working 2 years towards your doctorate. Facilities management.
What?
Facilities management is walking around your house and making sure shit ain't falling apart. What do you need a fucking master's degree in that for? And then you're telling me, like, you need to go back to school, spend all this money just to provide the basic bottom line help to people.
Yeah.
Which at the end of the day, for a lot of us, is just to talk to somebody.
Yeah. I don't understand. I will say that we have a director on our board of directors, Aaliyah Landry. She is our policy director, and she writes policy that goes to the Hill. And her latest white paper was to push, because military spouses, right? We move, we uproot careers, we do this, we do that, but a lot of us have extremely good backgrounds, right? We know what to do, we know this. Military spouses, they're working to where it can cross state lines, so that, let's say I was a counselor and we moved to Oklahoma, right? And I was already licensed in Virginia, but we were moving to,
God forbid.
I know, right? Yeah. And we moved to Oklahoma, and I would have to start the process all over again, right? Fast forward to the 2-year mark or whatever it is, I still don't have my licensure for Oklahoma, and it's time to move.
Right.
Then,
yeah, so
then
it's like
what
you're
do?
constantly just trying to upgrade stuff, and you're never really getting in your feet,
That's
cemented.
the thing that
sucks.
I think, like, in the service, like, we talk about that, like, a lot, like, in passing. We really think about it. Like, we're federal. What the fuck does state lines have to do with it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like,
that I have yet to figure out.
I liked my therapist from Virginia. Why the fuck did I have to get a new one just because he's not licensed to practice in Maine? A motherfucker's a licensed therapist for the VA. Who the fuck cares if I'm a new?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Doesn't make
it's ridiculous. Sense. No, it doesn't make any sense, and it's just it would. I feel it would have to take like a tsunami for something to happen, like, you know, political tsunami for something to happen to make those changes like that.
Just think about the expansion of services you could have if you were a federally recognized organization, like the lack of limitations that you would have in providing people assistance and care, and like thanks. Like, I don't really know what everybody had complaints about COVID for, because frankly, I had a great time. Not going to class was literally one of the best things that's ever happened to me.
Seriously. So Sarah, Hugh and I, we had the podcast going for most of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And my hair looked so terrible in the first couple.
Seriously, I feel like the veteran community thrived
in
like, that aspect, because like, wait, we don't have to be around. Yeah, we don't have to. I don't have to
care about my kids' idiotic teachers' opinions, like fucking through the roof.
Oh, but, yeah.
Like, the big benefit, let's not pretend that like it didn't happen. Turns out, if you have a laptop or you dress nice for work, you don't have to go to work. You can work from home.
It's like they figured that out, and it took the pandemic to figure that out. It makes no sense, but you know.
Like, if you are a federally recognized organization, you're providing services to federal employees, like once you're in, you should be in. That should be the end of the discussion. You should be able to fucking telehealth, teletalk, telecounsel, do whatever from anywhere. Because we're talking, we have like Air National Guard and Army National Guard bases, and who gives a shit, Wyoming, with like one counselor per 1 million people.
I know.
I'm not even entirely convinced there's 6 million people in the state of Wyoming.
I don't know why they're not doing it. I do know that they're signing that military spouse licensure can transfer without having to have any repercussions or anything. So things are moving.
Amazing. That's amazing.
Because Aaliyah has pushed for this for at least a year and a half, and it's finally getting headway, and it's needed. Our military spouses, number one, they need employment. That's going to help our child care issue. Well, probably not our child care issue, but it's going to help our food insecurity issue, because these spouses that are well trained can actually provide, which is going to help the mental health. Like, everything plays into the mental health. And I truly think that we're on the right path. Numbers are changing a lot through the years. Now, I will say military family suicides did go up, whereas our active duty went down.
I wanted to ask you about that. On your website, you have that in 2020, 133 suicides were reported by spouses, in which over 51% of them were females, and that there were 69 suicides from dependents.
Yes.
That information is from Blue Star as well?
Yes.
Do we know what the catalyst was for these? I mean, first of all, 133 by spouses, I think, is a number that, like, first of all, spousal suicide is not something that we talk about in general in the military. Like, we talk about service member suicide, understandably so, but like the toll that takes on the spouse. Do we know if these spouses who are committing suicide after their sponsor is gone, or that their sponsor is still around and they're
still around?
Okay, so these are spouses who said, this is too much for me, I'm out.
Yep.
Do we know anything about these situations? Is there anything that says, like, it was the deployment cycle, the relocation, the PTSD or TBI on their part, if it was anything?
I'm looking on the thing, and I printed it all out, so I had it right in front of me, which is good because, I had to leave my office and sit in Funko Pop world over here. So yeah, I don't see anything like that. The same as every other that you hear, though, is 80 of them died by firearm, which honestly to me is odd, because normally the spouse, especially when it comes to females, don't want to leave a mess.
Sure.
Right? They don't want to leave a mess to clean up.
Well,
so
if you have kids, you don't want to leave an unlocked firearm in the house either. And many personnel who live on base, you can't have a firearm on a base anyways. 80 out of 132 is a high number, I think.
It is. And it is a very high number. And 28 died by hanging and 17 by poisoning.
Oh my God. Poisoning is a hell of a commitment.
A very big one. A very, very big one. Yeah. I just looking at it, it
Jeez.
just boggles me. I wish that these people knew that there are people that care. And that's the one thing I try to get across. People care. And you can't rewind. So
No.
think before you
No,
act.
it's permanent. Once you do it, it's completely permanent.
Mhm.
That's it. There's no
And you
coming
need
back
to
from it.
think about what you're leaving behind you.
Yeah, and
You know,
that's. I think for certain individuals, and I've heard this before, that well, I'm not just gonna say service members, just for let's say people with families that have children. A
yes.
lot of it is like I've heard so many times. I would have done this if I didn't have kids. I wouldn't be here talking to you if I didn't have kids.
Yep.
Because the only thing that's stopping them, which don't get me wrong, that's great. I'm glad that there's something that's stopping them.
Yes.
But if they didn't have kids, we wouldn't be talking. And I hear that a lot. And it goes back to, kind of like, I don't want to leave a mess, which is, it sounds horrible to say, but it's the dead truth. Like it is. It's just,
and I would say that, marital troubles, I'm sure have a lot of play when it comes to military suicides. Whether it's a spouse married to a veteran who has severe PTSD, whatever it may be, I'm sure that marriages and money troubles, all of it, it all culminates, right, into one big jumbled, not good mess. And Natalie, whenever they were in Camp Pendleton, she had a neighbor that was going through a divorce, and he was the spouse. His wife was active duty, and his parents were there helping with the kids, and they came home from the grocery store and found him hanging in the closet. So why? And these things aren't talked about, right? I'm one that I will talk about them because they need to be talked about, because if we don't talk about them, history repeats itself, right? And whereas like our very toxic leadership doesn't help. I made a phone call one time because I was very tired of hearing about this certain ship command, and I said something needs to be done, because 2 sailors were actually getting threatened with admin SEP because they needed to take care of their families. One of them, their son had been in the NICU for 10 months.
Holy shit.
And had numerous surgeries. And the command was like, well, we're going to have to admin SEP you because, like, what? Why are you kicking him out of the Navy? What good is that going to do?
That's not even like the only option either. Like my sister is a junior sailor. She has a child. They just transfer her to another unit until like the pregnancy was done. And admittedly, she was young in her time, and they were like, hey, if you don't want to stay in, like, we didn't really invest any money in you, you can get out. And she was like, no, I want to stay in, which I'm happy that she chose to do so. But like the fact that was an option, you can stay in. Like that's not the end all be all. Just like, oh well, you're not coming to work all the time. Well,
no.
In some arguments, I'm on the side of, well, it wasn't in your sea bag. But there are other times where it's like, all right, it's been long enough. You know what I mean? Like, if I've given you X amount of time and there are no other problems leading up to this, then that is no longer a good excuse anymore. Now it's like, your job is to retain me, and this is not helping. Like, if you admin SEP a person for issues such as this, like, depending on how long that person has been in, that person's like, well, one, they're going to be, they're not going to feel great about the whole thing, but they're just going to leave and go make 3 times as much fucking money. We're not in a time in which you can just afford to cut people loose left and right. Because
hell no.
You feel that them spending time with a sick child is detrimental to the mission.
And the kicker? Are you ready for the kicker on this? So I made the phone call.
I'm not entirely sure that I'm ready for it, but go ahead.
All right. Well, I'm going to give it to you anyway. So I made the phone call, and an admiral touched down on the ship when they were underway. The CO had no clue that this was going on.
That, you know what, Sarah, that does not surprise me. It doesn't.
It makes me so mad.
Yes, 110% frustrating, but it does not surprise me one damn bit.
Well, it's like Brandon Caserta. I'm very close with the Caserta family. I don't know if you know the Brandon Act. I'm sure you do. All of that. He reached out numerous times to his CEO. Nothing was done.
Yeah.
Why? Like, and the chief that caused him to end his life, who was taking bets on how long it would take him to end his life, is still in the Navy.
Yeah. See, what pisses me off? This happens all the.
I know.
You know,
like
we interviewed somebody. Did we interview them? I have it written down somewhere. I actually have it like saved, Billy, in one of our files. There's a chief petty officer broke into his ex-girlfriend's house and like assaulted her, and like it's under review. Is out of California, and he's a recruiter, and he's still in.
Yeah.
3 years later.
Oh yeah.
I'm not even kind of surprised. I mean, it's like I just hit my 15-year mark recently, Sarah, in the Navy Reserve, and when I was on my last deployment, I submitted an eval in April, and it literally, like, I have 38 odd emails between like me and admin on getting something done until I finally just like caved and emailed the CMC. And it's like, first of all, how does he not know about something so trivial? And if you don't know about this, what else do you not know about? What else are you not sure about what's going on in your command? What you're like, that problem maybe happened before, but I wasn't here. Fucking motherfucker, I've heard that like 9 times.
Yeah,
that excuse is old.
Yeah.
It's like I always say, like I love the people I met when I was in the service, but if I could go back and do it all over again, I wouldn't. I would never. I would not go back and do it again. It's just because of the. Give an example. I left the command. I have an eval. I was an E5 filling an E6, E7 billet. Okay, just because it was just circumstantial, and I was the most at the time. I was the most senior E5, and the E6s were all in admin positions, and they just couldn't fill this position. So it was an E6, E7 position. Anyway, I left that command, and on my transfer eval, the first sentence, I had an amazing leadership at this command. Petty Officer Rubino is the cornerstone of the security detachment. Left that command with a transfer eval, 457 eval. Best eval I've ever gotten. Unbelievable. They set me up because literally the next exam I took picked up E6. And it was directly a result of that command. My next command was the command that I attempted suicide.
Yep.
That was the command. And when I reached out to my mentor at my previous command, he said, if I was there, I would put foot to ass. But he goes, what I need you to do is you need to go up to your upper echelon, systematically go to your chief, go to your master chief, and then go walk across the base and go to your upper echelon. And I did. Got to the CMC. He looks at me, he goes, me and your chief are really close friends, right? And I looked him straight in the face and went, what the fuck does that have to do with anything?
It doesn't.
He goes, he's a good guy. You could power through it.
Stop with the good old boys club.
Yeah. I said, okay. And I just went, okay, you khaki warrior. And I walked down. And he goes, what the fuck did you say? I was like, come on, Master Chief, let's call a spade a spade.
Well, we've said it before. I'm a firm believer. And of course, this is just in my community. The CBs are a weird community in that, like, we're not exactly like everybody else, but we're definitely more retarded than anybody else.
Yeah.
The people who should have stayed in, right, from like 02 to 07, if you should have stayed in, you got out. They said, we've seen it. We're good. We don't want to be a part of it. And the people who weren't qualified are now making senior and master chief. Right? So they're in this position where they have to continue to call back. And now I'm sure this exists in the other branches as well, but I haven't had as much interaction with them at this echelon. But you're calling back like, hey, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Well, it's because you're not qualified. It's because you're not qualified to know what to do. And you're making comments about things you're not qualified to speak on. And you're not comfortable sending people to the places they need to get help because you're so worried about having a black eye on your reputation
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just doing right. Instead of being able to stand up there and be like, hey, listen, man, or sir, I did the best I could. I made the call I thought was worth making, and that's all there is to it. Whether that went your way or not is irrelevant, but you're not making calls anymore. And we're in this phase where we're for at least the next I'm a fucking cunt made Master Chief this cycle, so I think I got another like 10 years till that piece of shit's gone. So another decade until those motherfuckers are gone. And I think the saving grace and the silver lining is that we have platforms like this and the internet in which kids can like constantly scroll, like find stuff and be like, oh, this is not just the way that it is. It's just who this person is, this individual.
Yeah, see, I really quick, I think the best thing for me was I started to believe in karma because that individual I spoke of, that chief.
Did you bury him in the snow?
No. And I didn't call my Italian cousins in New York. I didn't pull a hit. But I am making significantly more money than he is. He is, from what I've heard, is struggling to cope with being a civilian because he's not in that positional authority anymore. And from what I've heard, when you get out, no matter how qualified you are, when you walk into a new position with a new company, you have to start at the bottom and to a point. Okay, whether you get hired in or not, you're the new guy. And you have to, being a civilian is completely different than being in the military because they could just tell you could breathe the wrong way. They'd be like, you're fucking fired. You don't have a fucking job. Have fun. Get the fuck out of the building. So to me, the karma through all of it is I powered through all the mental health issues. And now I know for a fact that I'm living such a significantly better life than he is. And I'm just like, karma. You know what? Yeah, karma. But on the other end of the spectrum, I think it's amazing, absolutely amazing what you guys are doing and giving, individuals a place to be heard. Because once we can all come together and realize it's okay to not be okay and we're here to listen and, even to the point where like, don't worry about the military. Like, it's not the end all be all.
No,
like,
it's
the
not.
military is not the only thing.
It's not going to be your identity for the rest
and that's
of your
one
life.
thing I hated. I hated when I heard chain of command when someone's getting ready to re-enlist. Well, what are you going to do when you get out? I don't know. I'll figure it out. Well, you're probably not going to make it.
Oh, that's the worst thing you could say.
No, I am going to make it. Now I'm definitely going to make it because you said that. So it's okay, even if you lose the military. Like, I think people need to understand that even if you lose the military to still be here and to be mentally healthy, which in turn will make you physically healthy, and then in turn will make you emotionally healthy. And then you're going to live a fruitful life. You're going to have a good life as long as you stay positive in the fact that you're getting help for yourself. Because there's only one person out of everyone in the world that matters, and that's you. That's the person that you look at in the mirror. Whether you have a wife, kids, whatever, you have to take care of that person that you look at in the mirror every day first so that everyone else around you can also live a healthy life. And that's something
Put a mask on first.
Yeah, and it took me a long time to realize is if I don't fix me, I can't be a father to my daughters the way they deserve to have a father. So it's like if we get to that point and organizations like yours keep doing what they're doing, it's going to get there.
Yeah. Yep.
Sarah,
it just takes time.
Sarah, before we let you go, I just want to say one more time, your organization, which is doing the literal Lord's work, you do not help just service members, correct? You will help spouses.
Nope, everybody. If they have been within the military bubble for 5 minutes or five is my number. So you're going to hear me say 550, 500, whatever. I don't care how long you have been around the military. If you're a caregiver, if you're a spouse, if you're a dependent, if you're a child, I don't care who you are. If you're in the military community, we're going to help you.
Awesome.
And if we can't help you, we have partners and we have places that we can send to.
And you are in 13 states, is that correct?
For right now, we're hoping for more, but right now, yes.
No, that's fine. Yeah.
We are working on accreditation for an official suicide hotline. So we have a whole accreditation team working on that. so because of horror stories that I had heard, I decided, again, let's add something else to the plate, right? Let's just do something else. But I have an amazing team, and we have an amazing crisis center director and manager that are taking all of that under their wing, so I don't have to, use my ADHD and try to read the 110-page manual.
There you go.
Well, everyone, listen. Sarah, first off, thank you so much for joining us. We know that you have to get
Thanks
going.
for having me.
Absolutely. Anytime. We would love to have you and Candace back on in the future. Hear updates of what you guys are doing. On the ticker below, you guys can see the website. I also put it up on the screen. So go check it out, share it, and if someone needs something, please have them reach out to the Ohana Homefront Foundation, because we know they'll be there for them. Sarah,
and whenever you go to the website, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Whenever you go to the website and it does the pop-up, all you have to do is tap the phone number and it will dial for you.
There you go. That's amazing.
There's no having to dial. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Perfect. All right, Sarah, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be in touch. All right. Have a great night.
You too. Bye.
Bye. That's awesome stuff.
You know what's crazy? So I think about when my old man was stationed overseas. We were there for 7 years, and initially I didn't want to be there, because I was an idiot. But I didn't want to be in Italy, and I didn't want to learn Italian and eat Italian food, which of course I didn't know what that was. But I touched on it a little bit earlier. In 2020, there were 69 reported suicides for dependents, which is more than is acceptable, right? Because obviously we all agree that one is one too many. 69 reported is a lot. And I wonder what the influence is on the number of suicides and dependents, whether that's like Department of Defense schools. I only had something like, I want to say 200, but it was probably close to like 130 my senior year in high school. And not just my class, like the whole school. I think Ramstein had the most kids. I think they had a graduating class of like 300, and that was like a large class, right? So I wonder if any of it has to do with like the lack of, it can't be like the lack of students, because whether you're overseas, you're in the States. I mean, if you're in the States, you probably go to like a public school,
a regular school or charter school, whatever is local to the community for the base you're at,
or whatever your parents are willing to pay for. And if you're overseas, of course, you go to the school that is whatever there. I wonder what the number was between students overseas and students stateside. I'm inclined to think that the number is higher for students that were in the States, just based on, I mean, you've had AFN before, right? There's like 11 channels and 13 of them are commercials. So it's not like there's advertisements for like drugs and like violence or any of that other shit. You know what I mean?
No, but so like, it's funny you say that, because I'll go back to what I did in the military. So when I was stateside, because we did law enforcement, and it's something. So when I first came in, it was very hard for me to transition to the security forces, because I went to an actual law enforcement academy. So we were doing genuine, like, civilian based law enforcement, because we worked like, I always talk about Mayport because I was there for 6 out of my 15 years. But when I was at Mayport, we had concurrent jurisdiction with the local sheriff's office, who did all the PD, the sheriff, they did everything. So the Jacksonville sheriff's office was your police department. Anyway, when you work concurrently with them, we had huge off-base housing. I mean, huge area where we had patrols. Military had patrols off base in that housing for a good amount of time. And the shit that some of these dependent kids would do, and it goes back to what you're saying. Like, we'll even talk about, they're not fully exposed to it, I think, until they come to the States. Then they take it back overseas. You know what I mean? So they're hanging out with the wrong crowds stateside. And then what it is they bring it back overseas. We'll say like a base like Sigonella or Sardinia, okay, or Rhoda. And then all those kids, they gravitate towards each other, the kids that are doing bad shit. And then they're bunching up when they're overseas because there's nothing else to do. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's making it even worse. So it's like, it's a double-edged sword.
It's crazy to think too, because there's just, I mean, if your family is of a certain lineage and you go to a certain base, you fit in with the local populace. You go to the local populace school. if you don't, you go to the American school. But it's not like they were like shit schools or anything. You know what I mean?
No, they're good schools. I mean, they're all really good schools. And most
schools were great, and they had a lot of exposure and whatnot. I'm not saying that like my school was perfect by any means. I mean, London Central, we definitely had some kids with some problems being away from parents, the isolation. You know, London only gets like 8 minutes of sunshine a year.
yeah.
So we had students with problems that went to places, and now that I'm thinking about it, we had students who like went and talked to professionals about like problems that their parents had, whether that was, well, that's neither here nor there. But it's interesting, like that's a high, like dependent. You don't really think about dependence,
Yeah, I think that's a subject that's not really touched on. I think there's so much focus on service members, active duty, so directly.
Yeah, which is, I think admittedly is what we're here for, right? We're here for them, but we're here for, if you can't be here for one and not be here for all of them.
No, yeah, and you're absolutely right, because you don't really.
I said 133 spouses. That's a lot of fucking spouses, man.
Yeah, so I think people forget that. Let's take you're stationed overseas, right? All right, you PCS to a base overseas, and you're doing whatever a 2 to 4 year hit. Okay, depending on whatever the fuck it is, you're doing 2 to 4 years. Correct? I mean, it could be wrong. It could be less. It could be more. Whatever. You're doing X amount of time.
Yeah.
But then if you take that command, depending on your rate, you could deploy from that base
or your MOS.
Yeah, or your MOS. You can deploy from that base that you're stationed overseas. So now your whole family is not only without you again, but they're in a different fucking country. So I couldn't even imagine the stressors that go on with that. And then I think people also forget to even have that thought, because when you leave your kids, it's hard on the service member, but I think we always had that for individuals that deployed and had children, have that switch where you're like, okay, it's fucking game time. I'm going to miss you guys, but I got to focus on what the fuck's going on over there.
Right.
Especially depending on where you're going. Like if you're going to a combat zone, you don't have time to think about the family. But back home,
if you're a submariner, Justin, if you're a submariner, right? Like it's not like you have internet all the time. Like I'm not gonna pretend like we didn't have fucking Wi-Fi tents over in the hazardous zones. You know what I mean? Like you could go every day.
Oh yeah, no, it's completely different.
If you're a submariner. That's twice for you, Justin. You got an email out once every 2 weeks. I remember my dad was on a subtender, and there was like this thing where like all the dads like sent pre-recorded messages back for like Father's Day or some shit like that. But for them, it had been like 7 weeks since they recorded the messages. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely.
I think I agree with you. I think though we forget about the deployment cycle and the stress it can put about people, not just overseas, but if you're from a place that like puts a high value on family and community, and you deploy and you move because of the military literally anywhere else, right? Provided you're not in the same time zone, like the stressor of the same time zone, of not being in the same time zone, can be an added stress. Like, I wanted to talk
absolutely.
To we're going to your command's ball function tonight. Well, I planned on doing such and such instead, or what have you.
Or even trying to there's other situations like kind of like the one I was in, where I was stationed overseas in Japan on a company tour, and I had to leave my family back home for 2 fucking years.
Well, like Sarah said, her husband was he geobached in Hawaii for last
3 years.
3 fucking years, man. That's a long time.
So Hawaii is, I don't know how many hours, but when I was in Japan, Hugh, I was at one point 14 hours ahead.
Yeah.
So it's like when I tried to
lottery numbers.
Yeah, so it was like when I tried to communicate with my family back in the States, I either had to get up in the middle of the night to have a 10-minute, at this time it was a fucking, what the hell was it called? What was that old video conference thing? It wasn't Zoom, Skype. Yeah. I had to Skype my family at like 12, 1, 2 in the morning because they were just like, it was their day was starting.
Right.
So that's stressors. And then back home when the family, like if my wife at the time, if she had something going on with the kids and she needed to talk to me, because I wasn't in a combat zone, I was just in fucking Japan on a base.
But you were in Japan.
But I was in Japan.
You weren't like
she had to.
You weren't
yeah.
3 hours away on the West Coast. You weren't 6 hours in Hawaii.
No.
14 hours in Japan.
Yeah. So it's
if you're in Kentucky, Colorado, Texas, these states that I feel like really have like a high op tempo and like a high stressor. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying that there isn't stuff to do there, but I do feel like you see a lot more activity from personnel in places like California, Washington,
Virginia, Florida.
Yeah, you see
coastal.
More
I do. I agree with you on that. I think the coastal bases or bases closer to the coast.
I feel like people just like generally seem to be doing more, and I think you get wrapped into this mentality, and you create your own overcast that just perpetually keeps you down.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I completely 100% agree.
14 hours.
Yeah, it was rough. It was rough. I mean, I'll be very honest. It played a huge factor into my divorce. Unfortunately, the saving grace was that my kids were 2 and 1. So on that end, it's fucked up to say they didn't really know me and mom being married together in the same house. Now we're doing great now. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I co-parent amazing with my ex-wife. She's an amazing mom to my kids. It took us both to get to that point mentally. So as I say, to stop the arguing and all the petty bullshit, we were just like, fuck, I'm just tired. Can we just raise the kids? Like, can we just raise the kids and have a good life? And it was like, yeah, let's just fucking do that. And my kids are doing great. Like, my kids are doing amazing. And they bring it. Now that they're older, they'll ask, like, why'd you guys get divorced? I'll be like, Daddy was a fucking idiot. Like, let's just call a spade a spade. Dad was a moron.
Well, you can't say that, though. You can't say shit like that because it's not entirely true.
No, and I just told, and I tell them. I mean, I'm joking around, but
no, and you're right. I was gonna say that. When you're in the military, right? Like, it's not a secret that we make jokes to deal with stressful situations because we're not entirely sure how to handle it. So you joke with your kids and you joke with your friends and what have you, but let's look at my alcoholic, my fucking straw in the picture. But it's important to address that if you're not all fully prepared for the lifestyle the military has to offer, then it can be stressful. I can't tell you the number of times that I'm just a dirty ass reservist. I've never done active duty time. But I can't tell you the number of times I get on a deployment and some dude or girl is like, I'm going to propose to so-and-so before we even go overseas. And I'm like, maybe chill for a bit.
Yeah.
Maybe go overseas first and then find out like how that works.
You know what's funny you say that?
Maybe don't get the U.S. government involved in your life before you find out if this is too stressful or not.
So you know what's funny that you say that? I saw a really fucked up meme. It was a soldier, all right, in full battle rattle, crying his eyes out. It's just a picture of him, like a angled profile, just crying his eyes out. And it says on the meme, when you're on deployment and a $50 CVS charge hits at 8:15 in the morning.
Know what I mean?
Like, it's like, oh.
You know what I mean? Like, come on.
Plan B. Fuck. Like, it's fucking so bad. But no, I mean, it's really, it takes a lot of, going back to what we were like all talking about, I think once we as a society, actually, you know what? I'm just going to say it. Once us as men can suck up the pride and finally realize you're not weak if you go and seek help. Because let's just, it is what it is. It's us as men it's been pushed to us through society that, if you go to get help because, you're having some sad thoughts, then you're fucking worthless.
Right.
Which just compounds it because then you just eat it. You're just fucking eating it and holding it in, and it's just not doing shit for nobody.
Sure.
So if we can, as a society, I'm not saying just stop operating and being a badass motherfucker while you're in the service. You do what you need to do. Come the fuck home. But with that, shit's going to go wrong. You're going to see shit that 99% of the population is never going to witness. depending on where you're at. You're going to be in situations that 99% of the population is never going to have to deal with, and it's going to mentally fucking exhaust you. We are tasked through our own volunteer signature with protecting the United States of America.
Yep.
And with that, we live a 100% different life than an average person. And we, as men and service members and women, need to realize whether you lose your fucking career or not, there is a life past the military.
Yep.
And you cannot live that life if you don't go seek help to be healthy.
I'd like to add on top of that I agree. There's a large stigma that men don't go or shouldn't go receive help because they need to be the ones that are strong. And I think that a person, whether they are a male or female, they could be the service member, they could be the sponsor. If you are in a bad place, you need to go seek help. But I also think that, and this goes along with what I was saying earlier, we're about like 10 years away until the people who are unqualified are retired, right? We as a society need to quit telling people just because you're happy now. Wait, hold on. We need to start telling people as a society, just because you're happy now is not a reason to get married. Your family being happy for you is not a reason to get married. This person that you've known for fucking ever may not necessarily be the person you need to marry. Because if you're going to be in the military and you're going to be with a person who maybe doesn't have the same views, maybe doesn't have the same values, and I'm not saying that you have to have a successful marriage, but you do need to come to terms with certain things. And part of that in the military is going to be distance. Part of that is going to be shutting down. Part of that is going to be disassociating. And if you're not prepared for that, then it's not going to go well.
Yeah.
And that leads into, some people get married and they feel the way that they do because of their religion. Ipso facto, the suicide rate is high because they feel like, I can't get divorced because of religion. Well, I'm not an expert on fucking religion or theology, but suicide ain't great either. But they don't feel that there's another way out and there's a safe way to do it. Stop telling your kids just to get married because they're happy now. Stop telling your kids or your grandkids or your great grandkids, if you're from one of those fucking places that lives forever, just to tie the fuck on. If you're so fucking happy, don't go get the government involved and create extra problems. Tell these people, listen, create stress in your life. Go on deployment. Shut off the Wi-Fi. Leave dishes in the fucking sink. Do dumb shit like that. Find out if this is going to be fucking worth it. You can be infatuated with a person day and night. That doesn't mean that you should bring them into your life and that they should be somebody you spend the rest of your life with. Not only are we increasing divorce rates, but you have to admit that bringing those people along, saying like, oh, this will be a really fun time for us. Well, who's us? You're gone, motherfucker.
Yeah, so no, you're right.
You're doing shit. You're on deployment. You're on exercises. You're on training. You're on. You have duty. You have staff watch. You have. This isn't an us. This is a you. And a person needs to be here for you, and be willing to take the hit professionally and personally. And that's not an easy conversation to fucking have.
It's very rare that you see military couples thrive. It sucks, but I'm not going to name drop them, but I served with this one individual. He wound up making senior chief in a rate that is very, very difficult to put on khakis, let alone fucking put on a star above your anchor. So it's just a testament to what he did in his career. Now, his wife is to me was the most amazing support system ever. How she just held it down and let him finish his career, because she's like, if I can take care of this here at the house, he'll be able to take care of that over there. And it was never an issue. And to watch them, and they posted a lot on social media, but I also knew them personally, and this wasn't social media fluff. This was real. Right. Like, it's very rare. And it was
Yeah.
cool to see that because now they're having an amazing retirement. Like their kids are grown, you know, past college, have, you know, their lives they're doing, and they're enjoying their life.
That's what it's about. That's
Now,
you get to that via this communication, this understanding.
yes, and that's what my point was, is going off of what you were saying is don't jump into, oh, you know, this is gonna be great. Let's get married and fucking do this. It's gonna be a great ride. No, it's not.
No,
The divorce rate in the military is like 10 times higher than the
It
fucking.
is not Instagram. The military is not fucking.
And it's not Call of Duty. It's not all this fucking run and gun and then fucking meet up at
No.
the bar and then go, you know, fuck hot chicks. Like it's not. That's not what this shit is about.
No.
It's not. So it's. I don't know. We have a lot of time, Hugh, that we can talk about this. We have so many more, you know, I'm going to say episodes that we're going to go off on these tangents, but it's a topic that we want to continuously touch on because it's, you know, I think it's very important.
It's important. You know, the work that Ohana Homefront Foundation is doing is important, and that's why I asked her at the very end. You're not just providing services to military personnel, but also to spouses and dependents. I'm not going to say that I had 100% a great time the 7 years that I was overseas. It would have been nice. Admittedly, we got over there in 2000. You know, the internet was in its infancy. You know, my old man thought having a wasn't dial. What was the next one after dial-up?
I think dial-up was
no after
high speed.
High speed, yeah, whatever the one it was like, it was going to constantly be available. I don't remember what it was called.
I think it was high speed internet or something like
that.
It
was Hokum, you know, he didn't want any of that shit, but like it didn't matter because like these services didn't exist. I couldn't just like go on and be like, I fucking hate it here and I'm sad all the time. Like, who do I call?
Yeah,
they would have said Ghostbusters. You know what I mean? So the times are different. The times are changing, and that's good. And that's why I wanted to highlight that Ohana Homefront is not here just for the service member. They're here for the military family. They're here 100%. For all aspects of the military family, regardless of how long or how little you've been associated with them. And that's why we got off on this tangent tonight.
Yeah, no, it's a good tangent. I think it's a tangent that's needed. You know, I think especially for the individuals that are in right now that have that fear, that Ohana Homefront Foundation is a place that they can go and talk to without the fear of reprisal or repercussions, because it's okay. I'm going to say this a million times. I've said it a million times before. It's okay to not be okay.
Absolutely.
No, there's no perfect life, and there's no perfect mental health.
Nope.
Every day's a struggle for everyone. Everyone goes through the same shit. In a sense that you're going to question things, you're going to doubt yourself, you're going to have your highs, your lows, you're going to be sad, happy. Everyone's going to go through those emotions. It just depends on how you handle it and how you prioritize your own mental health. So again, you put your mental health, you take care of that, and you get to a healthy mental place. Even in that, you know, like I said earlier, 10 years later, I'm still dealing with the last few months. I've been really I felt like I've gone backwards. So I had to step back in and go, Doc, I need to talk again every week.
Yep.
Now, because I thought I was doing okay, but I'm not. So let's get this done. Like, let's do this. Let's get back to that place where I was thriving. Yeah. I miss that part. I miss it because it's fun. When you're doing good mentally, it's fucking great. It's fucking great. That's life right there. Mentally healthy is great. I'm not talking about physical health. Mental health, everything else falls into place. And you got to get there. And it's okay. Just you got to talk to someone. You have to take that step forward where no one's can't force you to do it. We can recommend it. We can give you the tools, but are you going to use them?
True that.
So Ohana Homefront Foundation is one of those tools. I suggest that you take a look at it if you are in that place or you need to talk to someone. They're going to do amazing things for you. And I think that's the key to starting that good, healthy life, because everything else, I promise you, everything else will fall into place. It will.
Right. We'll go ahead and wrap it up.
Let's get the fuck out of here, man.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching and listening, we're not going to be here on the 26th. We're going to be back on the 2nd. We're going to be here with Dr. Nathaniel Mohad, who's going to talk to us about fixing veteran communities. He's going to talk to us about veteran suicide in different living environments, whether that be nomadic, rural, Rural. Is that rural?
Fuck, dude.
Whatever. And he's also going to be joining us with Mike Shepard and Mike Stone, hopefully from the Veterans Coalition of Northwest Montana, who have been integral to his research. So
Very
please
cool.
join us again August 2nd, same bat time, same bat channel.
Yeah, and if you guys have any organizations that are kind of along the lines of what we've been talking about, shoot us an email.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. So these guys are joining us from the Veterans Coalition of Northwest Montana, and I said a couple episodes ago that I want to start doing other veteran charities, nonprofits, and so on and so forth from other states. So if you have one in your state that you think would be worth
us taking a little look at,
us taking a look at, us talking with, having them on here, please either email us their website or have them get in touch with us, and we would love to talk with them and have them on here. We're really looking forward to hitting all 50 states and having you all's help. That's going to make that happen. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I'm going to get like a map. I'm going to put a map up here. I'm going to start
pinning. That would be the tits now.
Yeah, I'm going to start pinning all these organizations in the state they're in, and we'll put, we'll keep track of it. We'll generate a list, and eventually, we're still working on getting this thing popping. I said that. Some 90s terminology. This shit's popping, yo. I'm sorry. I just made myself sick saying that. Anyway,
Randy Whip just hopped in.
I felt like it was a bad intro to a fucking horrible Ja Rule song. Anyway, fucking. So we're eventually going to get a website back. We're eventually going to get all these lists and everything. We've made some huge changes. On we'll talk. You know what? I want to have that conversation once down the road on why our logos changed, why everything happened. Down the way. We gotta get the meat and potatoes done first.
We can afford a lawyer.
Yes, when we can afford an attorney, or if any of you motherfuckers are listening, you can do that shit pro bono. Trust me, it's a good story. You want to hear it? I'm telling you, probably be on board. Anyway, so we'll be back on the second. Okay, and then we'll see. We will see you guys then. Thanks for joining tonight. We'll see you all later.
Awesome.